Hello everyone and welcome to our second episode of Project Greybook, presented by Comedy Hotspot and powered by the mighty jokepit.com. I'm Anthony Crank. I'm a genial host for tonight and a UFO and alien obsessive as well. And speaking of UFO and alien obsessives, we have got one of the very best joining us tonight. It's my very own little green man. No, it's not Leslie Grantham, judging by the lighting on his webcam. It is in fact comedy legend Steve Harris. Say hello, Steve Harris.
Hello, welcome to the show, everybody. If you tuned in last week, welcome to the show again. We're going to be discussing two different subjects. Who knows where it's going to take us? One being Drake's equation, the other being the Rwanda incident back in 1994. Rwanda.
You're going slightly left of Africa there, mate. Also joined by Skinny Bob as well in the background with his new hat.
He lost his fingers in the Dulce shootout incident with Phil Schneider.
He looks a bit like Dominic Cummings, to be honest with you.
At least he's showing his face.
Exactly. We just had a message from Nev Waite saying the truth, and that's what we're looking for tonight. And to give us the truth, we've got a very special guest, another comedy legend as well, all the way from Newcastle. Please give it up for the one, the only John Fothergill. Where is he? There he is. Hi, John. How are you doing?
Hello, guys. All right.
Hi, mate.
Yeah, great to see you.
Thank you for joining us, John. How are you doing today?
Everything cool.
Have you had a good day?
Yeah, I've been pretty cool, actually. I've just been sitting watching various, conspiracy theories on the TV, on YouTube. No, I haven't. No, that's not what I've been doing at all.
Are you
He's
only just got up.
Yeah,
that's it, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the airy bikers at first, but
Oh yeah, definitely. Look at how white I am. That's not actual grey, That's where your toothpaste leaks out of the side of your mouth. That's bleach. That. Yeah, that's all the bit. Oh, get a wash.
Wipe it off.
Yeah, just wipe it off. What the whole beard?
It could be alien ectoplasm.
Yeah, it could be alien ectoplasm. Yeah, you need to be more careful with it.
Exactly. You get good money for that. As you know, as you both know, we'll be discussing the Ruwa 2004 incident. 1994 incident in Ruwa, the school incident in Zimbabwe, and also Drake's equation, which fills me with dread because equations fill me with dread and anything to do with percentage and mathematics. I haven't got a clue, but that's Steve's bag as well. Also, if you're watching live, please get involved. You can send us comments. We'll put them up on the screen. We'll give you a shout out as well, and let us know where you're watching from as well, and we'll do that as well. Should we kick off then? I want to show you a little video first. Show the viewers a little video. You two have seen it already. This is an clip at the time, 1994, of the Ruwa incident back in Zimbabwe. Let's take a look at this.
In September 1994, over 60 children from this school in the suburbs of Harare, Zimbabwe, witnessed several objects landing and two beings coming out.
I saw little objects hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there was little ones all around it. We saw something silver, and then we quickly ran to the logs, and we saw a silver thing, and we saw a man standing next to it.
They came running up here in such a panic. I was very skeptical in the beginning as well. I believed that they'd seen something, but I wasn't prepared to accept that it was anything supernatural or anything like that. But I think the consistency of what's been going on indicates that it was more than I was prepared to admit in the beginning.
So both of them were running. One was running in the trees, and the other one was running across the ship. Because there were also trees here.
The eyes were like more pointed as they came in toward the center of the head, is that?
No, more circular. And this was all black in here.
All black. Now you've made pupils. Did they actually have pupils, or was
the
it
pupils were white? The
What?
pupils were white like that.
You saw white in the center?
Yes, like that.
Okay, so there's a little clip there for those that haven't seen it as well. It's a fascinating story. It is possibly one of the most unusual sightings ever recorded. I'll just recap on it. So the aerial school in Zimbabwe, 110 kids and staff and 62 students aged between the ages of 6 and 12 reported witnessing a ship landing at the back of their playground in bushes, which resulted in a chance run-in with two beings, the witnesses now classed as alien sightings. This was about 10:15 a.m. And what first happened was they saw three silver balls in the sky that soaring above the school, like kind of orbs that disappeared and then appeared in another section of the sky and then landed at was it kind of at the back of their field or something where they weren't allowed to go?
It was over a fence in a clump of trees.
Yeah.
And that's classed.
They called it the logs, didn't they? So it must have been somewhere that they were familiar with. They called it the logs, which I'm guessing was a play area with some logs in it, or it was a logging area.
A log off area.
Which, a logging area.
Yeah. But 62 kids.
I'm not sure about this one. Like.
Yeah. 62
well,
kids.
This is what's counted as 62 children. What my mum always said to me was from the mouths of babes, and it's true. Especially 62 kids, all telling the same story, all saw the same thing. This is classed as a close encounter of the fourth kind, with interaction, and the stories have remained the same over the years, and all these kids drew the same thing, said the same thing, and back then, and even now in South Africa, I don't think you would lie to a teacher. I don't think you would even dare to lie to a teacher. Not back then, not even now. These are very disciplined children.
Well, they're very different than British kids, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? I was saying before, I've worked in schools myself, and kids that come from Eastern Europe or American kids that I've worked with as well, they just have a different mindset. And so the idea of honesty and the fact that they were blagging it is kind of it doesn't feel right.
You can't. I mean, to me, this is a perfect case. Whether it's whether there's a reason or this is exactly the type of stuff that I love, because there's an element of prophecy in it as well, isn't there? They all come back and they say, the kids are all saying there was a message sent of, we have to stop bombing the world and we had to stop polluting the world. And this was, when was this? 1994.
1994.
But there was, if you notice in one of the interviews though, there's a little girl who in the back, right at the end, said that they're talking about aliens, and right at the end she says, and I've heard that they make babies from you. Now that was back in 1994.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you remember, the Communion and that came out in 1987.
Yeah.
And then you've got John Mack kicking around your school as well, taking these interviews. One of the parents must have had a reference on who John Mack was. I mean, for him to interview like kids, And I guess then you say, oh, he's released books, and this is, well, let's get one of his books. And before you know it, you've got a kid saying, they were telling us about babies.
You think they've been guided by John Mack?
I think the interesting element in this for me is the prophecy element, because we know that stuff is true with kids. We know that prophecies are given to kids. They're not, whether you like it or not. We've got the Fatima case in Portugal where the three kids saw the Virgin Mary, and then we have a sighting that was witnessed by 30 or 40,000 people of the sun exploding in the sky by people miles away as well. Now, whether that's the Virgin Mary or not, it was someone, because that whole episode changed the history of the world. Yeah. And that would be weird if it was once, but it hasn't. It's happened 2 or 3 times. You've got exactly the same thing happening in what do you call it? The painted Mary, the Virgin of Guadalupe. You've got someone being visited by an outside entity that influenced the entire South of America to convert to Catholicism.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whether they're aliens or not is a different story. I mean, there's also an argument just to say it's the cosmic joker. You know, I mean, I'm not a Catholic, so it's not like I'm having, and it's not like I'm having to go at Catholics. But if you want to have a look at their history, it's filled with encounters with other beings that have influenced history through all, and that's the side of it that I like.
Yeah.
Whether 60 kids saw a UFO in a field doesn't really. It's what they gained from it that interests me, and who the hell was giving them that knowledge.
Exactly. And Steve, I'm going to go to Steve.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Sorry, John. 1 second. I'm going to go to Steve now. Steve, with regard to this, I mean, John mentioned about the idea of prophecy and stuff like that, but it's safe to say that those kids were a really mixed bunch. They weren't just, you had the white, rich Zimbabwean kids, but you also had kind of kids from various different tribes. You had an Indian section of kids as well. A third, or maybe even a half of those kids wouldn't have ever kind of had a reference point of a UFO.
That's right.
Or alien.
Very different cultural backgrounds as well. But with no real reference point, so they also, but if you look back through to ancient history in the Sumerians, they had no reference point for things that flew. So when we look at pictures of Zoroaster and people like that, they put wings on them. There's wings on all these people. So because that's what was the only thing that flew? Birds. And what do birds have? Wings. So they see this object, this man, this person, this being in the sky, and they stick wings on it. It's because they've got no reference point. Their only reference point was actual birds, you see. And I'm going back to John E. Mack about his credibility. If you look at his credentials, he's incredible. I mean, it's the psychiatrist, the head of psychiatry at Harvard, is won a Pulitzer Prize. Is for his book of Principles.
Didn't come over as if I was dissing John Mack.
Don't be dissing Macker. Don't be dissing Macker, John.
No, I wasn't doing that. If anything, I was saying that the kids' stories could be influenced by the parents' research of who the hell John Mack was after the event.
Personally, I do think that he did lead the kids a bit.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of bits of John Mack where when you're watching stuff, you think, there was no need to ask that specific question, What were they wearing? Was it black or whatever it is? You kind of just told them there,
Let me stop you there a second.
I'm not saying that's what he did. But
John, 1 second. It says that things took a turn for bizarre when the kids noticed that a small black-clad humanoid figure, approximately 3 feet in height, emerged from the top of the object in a tiny, shiny, tight, fitted black suit. He had a scrawny neck.
Travels across the galaxy.
Hang on. He had a scrawny neck, a narrow face, thin arms and legs, long black hair, and huge eyes like
sounds
like Michael Jackson. 1994, he was going through that first molestation case, so keep him away. He was probably there.
Yeah.
But
run towards it, kids. Run away.
Yeah. But the point, what I'm trying to say to you is the point of this is those 62 kids were then asked to draw, because in those days we didn't have iPhones. Most of them didn't have access to a box brownie camera, and they were asked to draw images, and every single image was exactly the same. And those images also matched cases in the Russian city of Voronezh in 1989, and also in Finland. And they also said that they were almost bobbing around, like they were on the moon,
whatever it's pronounced.
So what do you make of that? What do you make of that, Steve? I mean, the fact that you're saying that John Mack, the genius that is John Mack, kind of might have signposted them into this notion of kind of put ideas into their heads, but the ideas in their heads were all correlated with each other. So where did that come from?
Well, this is where it was a little bit leading, but because of how professional John Mack was, and because he was the head of, he was a child psychologist, head of adolescent psychology as well. He knew what he was doing, and he did kind of tease out certain aspects the encounter from the kid. So I don't know whether when he moved
I'm
to
not
the
sure with
second
this
child.
specific case. Yeah. I'm not sure with this specific case whether he was like that. I mean, I think John Mack's research really still quite valid most of the time, you know. I just think that what I'm trying to say is an outside influence. Like, if it got round the school that a top scientist called John Mack was coming to visit the school about the UFO, I'm sure one of the parents would have maybe had a book of his, you know. And before you know it, what started off is, I think it started off, I've got it written here, 2 aliens floating and one of them sort of walking across the top of the vehicle.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and there was a very sort of strange, there was, like, the kids later were talking about telepathy and things like that. And I mean, I'm not sure how environmentally friendly even them kids were in 1994. Like, you know, it's a pretty sweet message, you know, but we have to stop killing each other is usually the one up to, I would have thought, but I'm not sure when the environmental
Did it even recycle, John? Did it even have a recycle bin?
The schools. Well, exactly, you know, so it is a bit, that's the bit that fascinates me. And also, I mean, you could say again, especially with the Russian one, I mean, I love that. I love that that particular case, because at one time, I think it's 1989 or something.
Yeah, Voronezh.
Yeah, well,
are there any images?
I can't. No, there's no photographs, I don't think, but there's newspaper headlines and sort of witness reports. I mean, they actually took a kid away for a second to sort of hit him with a laser beam, and you see these drawings of them, and it looks like a sort of early sketch of. Well, I'm saying early; it was later than that, but you know, they're sort of very Star Wars friendly, if you know what I mean. That they look like they would fit into a universe on TV. And a year later, I was working at the garden for, this is kind of off track, but I'll get back run to it. I was working at a garden festival in Gateshead, and there was lots of live theatre. There was a company called Live Theatre Company who used to put on like these little staged events in the corner of this big festival. You know, you've seen them at festivals and that. And some of them were great. It would be like just a policeman and a policewoman walking along the street. Walking along one of the grass verges or whatever in the garden festival, and suddenly they'd hold hands, and then suddenly they'd go to a sort of corner and start necking. And before you had it, there was like 300 or 400 people going, look at the police, you know, like in the corner there. They must really, you know, it was just a little thing. And for some reason, this Russian thing in a civic park reminds me of that kind of theatre.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's what it was by any means, and I'm sure any witnesses and that have thinking. And I don't want to get the impression that I'm not a believer. I want to believe. I just think you've got to look at every single bit of evidence at the minute, because the slightest thing is just going to make people against you.
That's what this show's for.
Exactly. Now,
well, I mean, look at the point. Look at the point with the Dead Sea Scrolls. I mentioned this the other day. Was there's like a little bit of the Dead Sea Scrolls has been found to be fake. That's in New York, right? Now everyone's saying the Dead Sea Scrolls are fake, and it's not. It's the one little bit that's in New York, you know.
Yeah.
So,
but John,
if you find one dodgy.
John, what we'll do, we'll probably get you on again, and we'll do the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Russian as well. It's fascinating, but I want to get back. I want to get back, because we're digressing back to this the idea of dual, because we've also got to get through Drake's equation as well. But we've got another clip. So you were talking about evidence then to Steve, and we've got another clip where when they revisited. Is it 2010, Steve, when a film crew went back to Ruwa and spoke to some of the kids as adults? Let's take a look at this.
That the aerial sighting, although we do not fully understand what happened, there was something definite that did occur there that was out of the ordinary. It was not a regular day at school.
Yeah, I think if there was one experience I'd like to relive, it would be that particular experience.
It really does stick with me that something happened, something was out there. And the kids saw it.
But it was just that picture that it'll never go out of my mind, was the face and just the craft, you know, they'll always be there.
I don't believe for a minute you could get that many kids to agree to do something like that. I really don't. I know children well enough. I just don't think that would happen. So I'm absolutely sure that something did happen there.
I haven't really talked to anyone about it. I usually kept it quiet, you know, because most people probably think I'm, a bit nuts. But, yeah, I think it's good to speak about it.
Exactly. Now, if you're watching live as well, please send us a comment. What do you think happened in Ruwa back in 1994 in Zimbabwe? Do you think the kids were blagging it, or do you think 62 kids were absolutely telling, were actually speaking the God's honest? Steve's mum says, what was your mum called, Steve?
Mum?
Yeah.
Brenda.
As Brenda.
Mine's called Brenda as well.
From the mouths of babes.
Yeah.
So Nev Waits has come on and said, what about the end in Brazil? We did that last week. If you go and look, you can go and watch last week's show, Nev. Just follow the links from this, and it's there. But we did that in full detail last week. Yeah. But my mum used to say, from the mouths of babes. And of course, if I was to do that as a child, then as an adult, I'd go, I was messing about. It was a trick, because none of them are making any money from it. You know, there's no financial gain, and only ridicule. Like that guy in the car, he's not comfortable doing that interview, and he's kept it quiet because of ridicule. So at least he would have said, no, it was a joke.
Yeah, exactly. So because we'd be singing it from the rooftops, wouldn't we? We'd be telling everybody.
Yeah.
Writing a 3-part, novel on it as well.
Yeah, I had a triangular craft come over my car. About 10 years ago, and I called the police. I got an incident number and everything. I felt ridiculous. I felt ridiculous doing it.
Have you ever had a visitation, John? Have you ever had any kind of anything that's kind of questioned your belief in UFOs and aliens and ufology and stuff?
There's a couple of. Well, I mean, as far as UFOs are concerned, only one. I was a kid, me and a couple were walking down
they're beaming you up, John.
We're walking down our street and basically looked in the sky and said, would it be great to see something? And then this what I can only describe as like a fireball just shot across the sky and then poof over the horizon, like as if it was some passing. I mean, I didn't see any aliens. But I saw the closest thing I've ever seen to it was on a recent UFO documentary I was watching about, the 2 guys that got took away from the fishing harbour.
Yeah. Well, it's got a funny name like Pango or something. Yeah, I watched that last night, funnily enough.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's a story, man. That's a good story, because that young lad, he kept out of that for decades. It was only when the other one died that he's really come forward and said, the guy
they got recorded. When they went to report to the police, the police recorded them secretly. And I think you can hear these recordings, and they're absolutely
terrified.
The fraud, aren't they? And it's going, they're never going to believe us. But you tell them they're not going to believe it. It's ridiculous. Oh man, did you see the faces on these things and all that kind of stuff? So this is a secret recording.
The thing that I saw was if you look at, and that's another thing about that case, is there was outside witnesses of people miles away who had encounters about 15 or 20 minutes before. Yeah. And one of them had spotted this thing shooting across the sky, and they'd put a graphic together of it. And I mean, it was like exactly what I saw, It was, and so if that had anything to do with them 2 guys being abducted, then that night, and something the biggest point I can make about this. I mean, I was about I think it was 1976 this happened, so I was about 9. And the biggest point about that I could make was we were so obsessed with Star Wars and everything and all that coming out in them space age kind of 1977, 76. That kind of, we were also obsessed that we were desperate to see something.
Yeah. And
when we saw it, we all burst into tears and ran screaming into our parents' houses.
Wow.
None of us was affected nicely from that incident. None
You're a gang
of us felt like.
Well.
You would yeah, those three words took me and my two best mates, like 9 and 10-year-old, and Bunny and Dubby, if you're watching, and I mean they'll swear by it as well. You know, we all ran into our individual houses at the bottom of the street screaming, and my parents all came out looking up in the sky. I mean, it was long gone. It was like as far as I know, it was long gone. we maybe got abducted for an hour up.
Yeah. Well, this is it, John.
I can't remember seeing Mortimer Wise's show that year.
Well, this
no,
is
but
it,
that was
John,
March
John,
as well,
John,
which is
yeah.
another
This is
thing.
it. I mean, John, if we look up, and you mentioned, you know, you're looking up at the sky, and so there is that much out there, which brings us on nicely, segues us into Drake's equation. Now, as I mentioned before, the idea of equations, percentages, you know, mathematics frightens me to death. So I'm going to leave this up to you, Steve. What is Drake's equation? What does it mean, and why is it important to the ufology community?
Well, because it's important because it gives believers and non-believers something more tangible. Because basically, people say, "Well, where are they? Where are these people? Where did they come from?" And what Drake's equation does is so. Let's see, for instance, N is a number of planets, right? So R is the average rate of star formation, right, in the galaxy, and F is the fraction of good stars that have a planetary system. You know, a Goldilocks zone, as it were. Is it too close or too far away from the sun, etc.? N is the number of planets around these stars with an eco shell, an atmosphere. F being the fraction of those planets where life develops. Fi is a fraction of living species that develops intelligence. That's very important. And the C is a fraction of intelligent species with communications technology. And this one, the next one, the last one, is quite scary, really. Is the L is the lifetime of the communicative phase, because they might have killed themselves off at a certain point, become too technologically advanced and hit the wrong button.
Okay.
You know, but and using Drake's equation, just in our galaxy alone, there's 10,000 planets to match that description.
10,000, because I'm reading 10, here now, as far as civilizations are concerned, there's been 420 billion civilizations in the past 2 billion years, each one lasting 1 million years. Then on average, about 210 million of them have existed simultaneously at any given moment. Why haven't we ever? Why are we the only ones? Why are we seen as the only, you know, habitable living planet out there? You know, at the moment,
because we're brand new. We're a baby. The Earth is a baby in the universe. It's only 4.3 billion years old. We're still not that advanced. You know, we're a very small community of like people that haven't really made that leap across it. I mean, these things, the way they travel, they fold space, they fold gravity in front of them in the ships and stuff. It's not the actual craft doesn't move; it's the gravity and space in front of that. That's why it can zip around and make right angles and things like that. We haven't got that kind of technology. If you just think about it like this, if there's the nearest star, what is it, 40 light years, something like that, Alpha Centauri, how many light years away? But that civilization that lives around that planet, they're thousands and thousands and thousands of years more advanced than we are. You know, they've only got to be 1,000 years more advanced, and they can probably use gravity for their own devices.
John, do you think we could exist, and do you think you could exist and survive on any of these planets, these exoplanets?
I think I could. I barely have. I don't have much chance of existing in Southeast London, where I actually live. So I'm not sure. You know, I'd give myself another 6 months tops.
Yeah.
But,
what would be a perfect planet, John? What would be a perfect planet?
To feel
rivers of lager,
a lot of greenery. Yeah, a lot of lovely bushes.
A lot of
gin trees.
I think gin trees. Yeah. No, as long as there was a river of tzatziki, that's my favourite food I get at the minute. But yeah, I mean, as far as the planet and that's concerned, you've got to. I mean, you see, I'm way beyond this. I'm way beyond worrying about working out the formula of the nearest star to the. You know, that just doesn't really rate it with me. I mean, I'm more likely to believe that we're an early civilization a recent civilization on this planet to an older civilization that still exists on this planet, if you like.
Yeah,
you know,
possible.
I mean, you know, it's a lot more valid, to be fair, if the science is true. You know, I mean, if all the light year stuff and all this, because there's no doubt that people are definitely seeing stuff that they can't explain, and everyone automatically says alien. You know, but it might not be. It might be weird government experiments, or it might be something that's not alien at all. It could be older than us. I'm not saying this is my belief. I'm just saying this is a theory that, to me, is a little bit more valid than faster than light travel from distant galaxies coming here to interact by nicking a cow's arse. You know, I just, you know, I'm sorry. You know, I'd be much more interested in knowing what the underwater cave dwellers are doing with cows' arses.
of course, the USOs and stuff, bases,
Do you know? And not that I believe that, but I just think it's as valid a principle as what faster than light travel and all that. I mean, my personal belief is what you sometimes see in the sky is, and say greys, for example, or some kind of drone that are sent out. Maybe it's
harder now.
Life
because of drones and technology. It's really difficult now to tell the difference. I think anything before 95 is probably a bit more believable, but after that, there's kids in bedrooms that can put UFO
and,
all over the place.
And I mean, I'm a big fan of the old stuff as well. Of like what you were talking about, Steve, about the old. You know, the ancient religion stuff and how it relates to more than one god and how them gods were probably fighting over the planet and all this kind of thing. I'm not a big... I've never read any Zachariah Sitchin or whatever he's called. It doesn't interest me. But when other historians start saying the same thing, that's when I start thinking, oh, well, you know... Which to me answers, by the way, this equation, you know... or at least the paradox to it, the Fermi paradox, Steve, is the you know, then where the hell are they? You know, if this
already here apparently. I mean,
well, this is what I'm saying. Yeah, this is what I'm saying as well. That they've probably been and gone. You know, at least, and maybe they're just someone's driving down the wrong motorway.
Like Dominic Cummings around his way to Durham.
You I mean, if that's believable.
You mentioned the Fermi paradox. Then, what is the Fermi paradox? It sounds like a lady's sanitary product. What is the Fermi paradox?
Well, it's basically we're the only life in the universe, and there's nothing else. If there was something else, like John said, they would have already been here and shown themselves. But as far as I'm concerned, they have.
Paradox, well, that's it. And the answer to the Fermi paradox is, well, they have been here. I mean, do you see? Because we've got the Drake equation, which gives you the scientific reasoning of why there should be life. And then you've got the Fermi paradox, which says, then where is the life? And then you've got the answer to that, which is, you know, Adamski and Leslie and the people who were flying saucers have landed.
We've got a question here. Somebody's coming with a question, John. It's from Colin Mayhew. He says, what are the opinions of the recent release videos from the Pentagon? I think he's referring to the Nimitz Tic Tac UFOs.
Wow,
Any thoughts on that?
You like my opinion?
I
think the Tic Tac, the one from above where you see it scooting along the sea. There's like a little one where literally the guy captures it as it's moving and
he's got the gun camera.
I mean, that I think is amazing. Honestly, it blew my mind. That I think it's incredible. That's either one fast seagull, with no wings.
It's just spotted. You've got an ice cream.
Long one as well. I think, wasn't it? It was something like 40 feet long, I think, as well. That's one big fast seagull with no wings.
And it was against 121 knot wind as well.
If all of the engineering in that video is accurate, I mean, I can't fly a plane. I mean, it could be stolen from an old asteroids machine for all I know. But when you look at that, I mean, that's incredible. However, the other one, and I've mentioned this to you, Steve, is the other one where you see the thing kind of rotating in the sky.
Yeah.
And the guy's going, wow, look at that, you know, and there's a fleet of them and all this kind of thing. To me, and once I tell you this, you'll probably not be able to unsee it, I'm sorry, but to me, it looks like an insect trapped in a drop of water, either on the lens or inside the camera somehow. And they even recalibrate the cameras to locate on it, you know. So, I mean,
I'm gonna have
I
to
love
watch
the
now.
TikTok. I love the TikTok, but for me, that to me looks like a little beetle or a fly caught in a drip of water in between two panes of glass, or even just on the inside or outside of the lens.
Can we cut him off, please?
I hate myself for saying it. I hate it, but to me, that's what it looks like, brothers.
Yeah. Steve, with regards to
I need a drink after that.
Colin A. Maisie, with regards to this question, with regards to the question that you just posed to John there, why did they release it kind of slap bang in the just pre-peak of COVID-19? Why did they do that?
I think because people were distracted. People were extremely distracted by the current pandemic, and UFOs. Well, that's fine. We'll deal with that later. You know, it was a very easy time for them to drop that in. You know, so people just kind of brush it to one side. Also, as well, it could be a mistake, and they know it's a mistake, and they know what the objects actually are, and they can say, "Oh, sorry, that was such and such," and it's discredited the UFO thing again.
Yeah.
But what people might not know about these objects, these Tic Tac objects, when the jets were scrambled to follow these things, they were given a coordinate. They were given some coordinates to meet the other jets at, and by the time they had rallied to these particular coordinates, the Tic Tac UFOs were already there waiting for them.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope that answers the question, Colin. We're still asking you for questions, so if you've got anything that you want to ask us for next week's show, or for any shows moving forward, we're always looking for ideas. We've got our kind of a list of what's coming up next. John's fed us with some cracking matter there as well that we can be looking at in further episodes, and hopefully, John, you'll come back on the show soon as well. But yeah,
hey, I'd love to.
On the bottom, Comedy Hotspot, comedyhotspot.co.uk, and follow us on Facebook as well. It's just on the bottom of the screen there. Any of those links you can click on. You can send us emails, you can send us messages, make comments and stuff like that, and we'll definitely read them and bring them to the show in the next couple of the weeks. John, what are you doing with yourself for the rest of the week? Have you got anything you want to plug? Have you got anything coming up as well? Will you be?
What gigs are you doing, John? At the store?
Yeah, I'm at the store all weekend, but there's no audience.
Just outside.
Yeah, they're not letting me in the actual venue.
Yeah,
I'm there. No, to be honest, man, I mean, I'm clueless. This has really been fun for me because I don't usually do stuff like this, you know, mainly because people recognise me from my old modelling work and that. and then I start getting the old letters coming in and that, and, you know, breaking up marriages and shit.
John,
so, it's Bigfoot, yeah. So so this has given me a lot of ideas, well.
Good. Have we changed?
I might just nick the idea of this show.
Have we very quickly, John? Have you changed your John? Have you as we've been working on this and you've been prepping for this and you've been in this tonight? As your kind of your theory, your idea, your thesis on UFOs and aliens, has it changed somewhat at all? Very quickly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I love talking to Steve. I mean, we always talk about this stuff because we are.
Yeah, you are, Steve. What's he saying?
He's been beamed up. John.
What was he about to say? There he is.
He was about to say
different.
Tune in next week.
Yeah,
we lost you, John. Well, he's gone.
John,
we lost you there, mate.
John,
it was boring anyway.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
boring.
we fell asleep. I mean,
It was Emma. The men in black just barged in and stopped me saying what I was going to say.
Okay,
It's as simple as that.
Well, listen, come on the show again.
I'll see you in the caves.
Yeah, come on the show again when you've come out the caves, and you can fill us in on what you were about to say. Then, Steve, you do anything this week? Is there anything? Are you still studying for your diploma?
I've done it. I am a qualified ufologist. And I've just started a cryptozoology diploma and the Sumerian texts as well.
Yeah.
Also, while I've got the floor, I want to push next week's show. So please tune in. Next week, we're going to be discussing Admiral Byrd and Antarctica and famous abductions.
Okay, congratulations, Steve.
So
much love for you there, our very own little green man. We have someone who's been in Men in Black coming on as a guest in the near future. And as I said, if you want to ask us anything, if you want to give us topics to talk about, do get in touch with Comedy Hotspot or jokepit.com, and we check us out on the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram pages as well. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. Keep believing, and we'll see you next Monday, 7 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Bye.